it has been relentless this year.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of volume, but in terms of quality
Oh, yeah.
as well. Like
God.
every game coming out is like 80, 90, aggregate scores, must play sort of titles. So lots to talk about today. But the thing at the forefront of both of our minds, I think, is a game that neither of us thought we'd actually enjoy that much, and that's Helldivers 2.
Helldivers 2.
This game fucking rules.
Really good.
My God, it is so good. Okay, I never played, no, I lie. I tried the first one. I never got into it at all because I was just playing solo.
Mm.
And it was like, I don't know, I was chatting about it on Discord to you guys this week where I was like, yeah, it came out around the time where these top-down strategy, or not strategy, like squad-based shooters were kind of in vogue. You had Helldivers, you had Alienation from Housemarque, stuff like that. And I never got into any of them. I just didn't vibe with them. So when, Helldivers 2 got announced all these years later and they're like, oh, it's a third-person perspective, I was like, oh, that's quite an interesting change. Good luck to them. It doesn't look that, interesting. But I understand now why people like the first game, first off. But also now why this change to third person is just so much better. It's because it puts you like in this chaotic action in a far closer perspective than the top-down ever did. And you're really in the thick of it when every person in your squad is calling down orbital strikes or like strafing hell runs or like a machine gun turret that has no idea what friendly fire is, or like a sphere of mines that detonate even on friendlies. And it's just absolute chaos and great third person shooting, and I love every moment of it. It has such a sense of comedic timing when it isn't even meaning to be comedic, and I love it for that. It's so good.
I'm right there with you where this sort of popped around, and I knew like Helldivers 2 is coming out, and then I was like, I never really played the first. I know it's beloved by many, sort of like, can you call it like a cult hit? Because I know it was very good, but I feel that only a select number of people I know played it and loved it. It wasn't like this commercially huge success, at least not to my knowledge. When Helldivers 2 came, I was like, cool, whatever it is. It's just a switch to third person. So I booted this up last weekend because we got review code. I think it did launch about last week sometime.
Around about then.
To try it out. And the first hour was like, it's cool. You're playing a bit solo, you're doing the tutorial, whatever. And then I started playing with other people and getting to the harder missions. And man, this game just clicked, because it's exactly that. You're in the thick of this action, but just the comedic timing, completely unintentional. Because to be clear, friendly fire is on in this game. Something you learn very quickly when you accidentally shoot a teammate if they strafe in front of you, or you call down an orbital strike and someone happens to be too close, including yourself. And just that combination of chaos, but the chaos with, just this balancing of you just pull through every encounter. Sometimes you don't. It's just so good. The chaos is just really good, and it looks good, and it feels so much fun to play. So, like, color me surprised. I've put in I haven't put in dozens of hours. I've played maybe about 12 hours or so, and I'm definitely going to play
decent
more.
Amount.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I was telling someone yesterday, I don't know, maybe it was you guys, but the way it weaponizes friendly fire is so smart. Like it seems so simple to think about, like, okay, yes, friendly fire's on for everything, but it like weaves that into every mechanic as well. Like the sentry turrets I was talking about earlier. It says in the description, like, will shoot at friendlies if in the way of an enemy. So like it does not care. It is only looking for enemies, and if you happen to walk in front of it, or if you are just in front of its nearest enemy, it will turn towards you and fire on you. It does not care. The same thing for like other stratagems. Those are the sort of like special abilities you get to equip and use quite frequently through matches. I thought they were quite limited, but like you're meant to be using these things like all the time. Yeah. If you throw down an orbital strike, you have this like beacon on the floor that shows you where the thing's going to come. But you know, the strike happens so quickly that if you just wander slightly in its direction, or if you are where a teammate threw it down and they're like, you need to get away from there, you have very little time to react. But at the same time, enemies are coming from all directions. So the temptation to just use these things with sort of reckless abandon is kind of there and required at the same time. So you have to balance this complete like reckless nature to the action while also not completely annihilating your teammates constantly in and out. And I think it's just a really smart balance of combat that works extremely well. And it's just funny because it's like sometimes things don't go according to plan, and when they don't, they're just hilarious because you're given so many opportunities to revive your teammates. But again, to the point where it is balanced enough that the combat still feels challenging, but it doesn't feel like, you know, like, fuck, why did you kill me? Now we're down to like 2 revives at the beginning of a mission. You know, it's really thoughtfully put out there.
I think that I'm genuinely surprised, and I don't know if it changes at harder difficulties, but the number of revives each team has, it's like you can die many times and you can still complete a mission. I'm glad it doesn't punish you that way. Like, again, this goes up to, I think there's like 8 or 9 difficulties, which is just insane.
Really?
We're on like, we've played
medium,
maybe 3 or 4 of the 8 or the 9. So
even
God. Then I'm like,
and we played a challenging one yesterday, and it was
how do you play
insane.
anything harder than what we're currently doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's enough respawns to go around, which is cool. You know, it would be a bit shitty if you arrive, it's like you've got 1 extra life, but then you have to be super coordinated. But I guess just quickly, if you don't know what Helldivers is, I know we've explained what kind of game it is, but
right, yeah.
The premise is it's a silly premise to begin with, and like intentionally so. You are a citizen of Super Earth, and you just have to travel across systems delivering democracy across 2 enemy types. So if you're watching the video feed, you'll see there's a lot of bugs. There's 1 enemy type, and the other is basically like robots that remind me a lot of Terminators. And you combat
with
these
little chicken walkers from Star Wars.
Yeah, just a mishmash of everything. And you have to do a number of things against these enemies across different missions. So, for example, one mission will see you having to launch a satellite. So you land on the map, you've got to go get launch codes on one side, take it to the rocket on the other side, and physically input this code and launch this rocket, extract. And now that sounds quick, but a mission can be anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes, because along the way you've got the option to do side objectives. You can go, oh, okay, we've got to get the launch codes, but there's a bug nest, there's 2 bug nests on the way, let's close them on the way there, and you get bonus XP for engaging with these side objectives. So it makes matches feel pretty dynamic and different, because you never know what you're going to actually do. I think, I could be wrong, but I feel that there's a level of procedural generation that's happening with each map. I don't know if it's like a fixed, this is a definitive map that you're playing now, this is a definitive mission, or, you know, it's one of those things where you launch onto a planet and it knows to put 3 objectives on that map and it just generates a stage for you. Like, I'm not quite sure.
I do think there's an element of that there. Yeah.
But it's the matches are varied. Well, the missions are varied enough that while there are times you're doing the same sort of thing, just the nature of how you're tackling everything, it just always feels different. It's just, I'm just genuinely surprised about this game. I did not expect to like it as much as I am. Like, I'm hooked.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely did not expect it. I was just like, oh, okay. You know, when it came out and we got code, I was like, Matty, do you want to check it out? You're like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And then, you know, it was sort of like everyone online started talking about it, and I was like, okay, this looks interesting, maybe. And now that I've given it a good go, like, I'm hooked on it as well.
I'm also amazed just how successful it's been, and that's not at all a knock against like I didn't expect the game to flop, but it's like when it's breaking records on Steam and it's got such a healthy player base, which shows no sign of slowing down, at least not yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, okay. Like,
it's the biggest
it's
Sony
amazing,
launch on PC.
But
Yeah.
it's amazing that so many people have picked it up, because I feel that other people would have our exact reaction, like, oh, it's Helldivers. Like, I never played the first one, but I think there's enough talk about it online, and the marketing's been really good that people are actually picking it up and playing it. So, yeah, good on this team. I think it's like massive success. There's like this seemingly, and again, not like a no-name brand from Sony. It's just like, it's definitely one of their lesser known titles. So very cool to see it doing super well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think props to the development team on being so open about some of the issues they've had with launch and stuff like that, because the demand for the game was exceptionally higher than they expected it to be at launch, and they've been dealing with that. And I think they've been very transparent with like, hey, this is what's happening, this is how we're going to remedy it, it will take time, this and that. And you can tell by the numbers that the game keeps pulling in, that people are willing to put up with those issues because the game is so good, but also I guess appreciative of just being kept in the loop of what's happening when there are issues.
Yeah.
It is just kind of insane that you compare this to, say, it had 200,000 concurrents on Steam at one point. I think it's still hitting close to that number.
Yeah.
And then you look at something like Suicide Squad that is barely at 1,000 now, and you're like, wow. I would not have called that at all.
That not a single person has that on their bingo card.
No, definitely not. I mean, I didn't think Suicide Squad was going to set the world on fire, but if you told me, oh, Helldivers is going to have 200 times more players online at a time, I would have been like, are you okay?
Yeah. What a way to throw money away at a silly bet like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Last thing I'll say on the Helldivers is also, it's not a full $60 game. I think it's slightly reduced. I don't know if it's 40 or 50, but point is, it's not a full price AAA title.
But that said, it does have the trappings of it's got a battle pass, for instance, that reminds me a lot of Fortnite, where it's like you've got a free route and a premium route, and you use medals that you earn during missions to unlock things on the battle pass, and the more you spend on the battle pass, the more pages you unlock to unlock more things. But if you want the real shit, that's on the paid one. And it was kind of a bit weird yesterday. I think John Michael pointed out that on the premium one, there are full-on weapon unlocks, or like modified weapon unlocks, that you just cannot get otherwise. So you get like an explosive assault rifle.
So we need to investigate this, because you're right, there are 2 battle passes. However, we can spend medals on the premium one. It's just a lot more expensive, which makes me think that if you pay money, like, again, I need to investigate this, but I feel that maybe if there's a system where if you buy the battle pass, quote unquote, maybe you're earning medals faster, that you can actually spend your way through the premium one. But I did see last night, we're not locked out of it. It just, whereas on the free to play battle pass, a weapon might cost like 5 to 10 medals. The premium battle pass is like 20 medals for a similar weapon. So because I bought that explosive assault rifle last night, it's like, oh, I actually can buy it. It's just, it's a lot more expensive.
Okay, that's different then. Okay, yeah. I thought it was completely locked out, which I thought was really bad.
That would be bad, yeah.
Yeah, but if it's just like more expensive, I mean, even then it's a bit more bad, but at the same time, you can still, it's like redefining standard progressions. Like if you want to pay, you can make the progression faster, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that they've got to balance that keenly, but at the same time, I'm not playing this game and being like, damn, I feel like I'm missing out on something yet,
No.
Yeah.
It's good.
But it's good. I'm keen to play lots more of this game because it is ridiculous, and I haven't laughed as much as I have playing in
Yes.
multiplayer game as I have with this. It's just
Actual tears running down my
absolute
face many
absurdity.
times.
Just the amount of times that I think I'm safe and then I just die.
I'll even say like playing with a party like you guys is obviously the optimal way, but even playing just with random strangers is. I mean, the game does have voice chats, but I've never spoken to other random strangers online. But just playing the unspoken communication, getting through objectives, it's good fun. And the game's in such healthy states, you find a party within seconds. So
I've had very good experiences with the quick play. I haven't struggled at all to find parties, and like you said, it is a lot better with friends just because you have more dynamic missions and objectives. Solo is like totally viable, but you're, I think, locked into like easy modes because anything above that, you're just not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Helldivers 2 is good.